Hey everyone, this is a client search console dashboard, and you'll see that some of the URLs are blurred out, and this was actually not done in post-production. As you see, if I scroll up, it follows it very closely. This was actually done in an extension that I coded with Claude Code, and so I also have some other examples of bookmarklets that help highlight heading structure. There's another bookmarklet that pulls every link off of a page and helps identify some underlying code and basically makes my workflow easier for everyday work. So that's what we're going to go over today. And every prompt that I use is going to be in the description, as well as the code for these local Chrome extensions. So if this is interesting, stick around. Okay, so now I'm going to do a couple of Bookmarklet demos. So for example, for headers, if I wanted to see the headers on page, so similar to how we looked at the detailed second tab here, and it's got the headers, sometimes you actually want to see it on the page itself. And so one way to do that is through what's called Bookmarklets. So this demo is for headers, and if you just copy this code here, so a bookmarklet is basically JavaScript in a click. So if you put a bookmark here, when you click it, it will just take you to that page. However, you can just replace the URL with JavaScript. So I copied this JavaScript, and if I right click here, edit, paste it in the URL and just rename this. So let's name this headers. Now it has a completely different function. So if I come over here and I click headers, you'll see that it has now highlighted the H1 header for me. Or actually, it has highlighted all the headers. So if I scroll down, this is an H2, H3, etc. And so this helps you identify which parts of the website are actually headers and which are just like p tags. And so this will be important for sites that maybe don't follow SEO best practices for headers. So if I click headers here, you'll see that the very first one is an H4, and then this one is an H2, and there's actually no H1 tag. So when Google crawls this page, it actually doesn't really have a good understanding of what it is supposed to be about. So let's see if we go here, we could click it again, take a look at the headers. Yeah, so same thing, we're missing an H1 tag. So right away when you're checking, you're doing like quick SEO audits, bookmarklets like this will help you get through the checks a bit faster. Okay, and if you wanted to have Claude create this bookmarklet for you, you can just copy this prompt here and it'll make you this exact, or something very close to it. But you know, at the beginning, you're not going to be able to have this much detail, and this wasn't how I started. This was actually, I gave Claude this code and I asked it to reverse engineer a prompt for me, and that's what this was. But at the beginning, how I started was I just started natural. So I just said something like, make a browser bookmarklet that highlights all the headings with the current web page, and then give it color dashes in labels like H1, H2, H3, which is a much more natural way to explain how you want a bookmarklet. So if I copy this and I go to Claude, and I just pasted this in there, then it will, again, it'll make me something very similar to it. So okay, so now it's printing the code, and so I'm going to try this one. I'm going to come back, reload this. Going to make me another bookmarklet. So I'm going to do headers 2. So this is the one that Claude just made. And then I'm just going to click it and do a test. And so you'll see that it basically did the same thing. I didn't choose the colors. It just randomly chose the colors, but it basically will one-shot your bookmarklet a lot of the times. Okay, so back here, The next one I wanted to talk about is called Show URLs. So if I go to this blog post, and so this one, I'm gonna, because I already pre-built these, this will be Show URLs. So I have a couple reasons I do this bookmarklet. So when I click here, it will actually show me every single URL that is on this page. And what that allows me to do is, for affiliate sites, I can scroll through and see which affiliate campaigns they have. So for example, let's see, I think it's recommends. Also, it lets you search. So you see how it goes marketandmilk.com/recommend/beehive. This is a affiliate link. And so right away, I know that Beehive, MailerLite, and ConvertKit have affiliate programs. So then I could go and apply for these programs if I wanted to become an affiliate for this software. So this is one way you can use this show URLs. And another way is if you wanted to double check that people put your links in their articles. So let's say I was doing a link exchange and I was campaign monitor, let's just say I was MailChimp. I could come to this blog post after the blog went live and I could type in MailChimp, and then I could check whether or not the author actually put in my link, for the exchange as an example. And so that's two ways that I use this particular bookmarklet. And I mean, the way I came up with to even have this was because I was actually manually checking. So I would scroll through, and then normally to see the URL of this hyperlink, you would have to just hover over it, and then you'll see in the bottom left corner, this goes to /recommends/beehive. And so that's a lot of work to do this for every single link, because as you can see, there are 75 links just on this one page. So this bookmarklet alone has saved me a ton of time. Okay, so the next one is this headings tool. So this was one, so I built it for a different Squarespace site, but because it was a client site, I'm just doing a demo on a different site. So it's not going to match up exactly, but I'll just give you a brief demo of what it does. So let's just go back to this Squarespace site. And again, I'm not affiliated with this site at all. I'm just using it as a demo. I'm going to replace the URL with the JavaScript, and this is going to be, I think, like show elements or something like that. So now when I click this, you can see how complicated bookmarklets can actually get. And so what this is this is basically a code builder for me. And again, if we look at, if I do headers, let's say I wanted to convert this H4 into an H1. So I'm looking for the phrase, would you like your clients to keep coming back for more? So that's this block right here. And all I would need to do is click H1, and then I can adjust the size really quick, and I can even align it. So these were the features that I built into this particular bookmarklet. And then what I can do is I can copy this code, and when I go into the back end of Squarespace, you can insert a code block that has the code that you need in the tags that you need. Now, there is some custom code that you have to put one time into Squarespace to make this actually work, but this is just a quick demo of like how you can quickly grab code snippets by using bookmarklets to help you. And so this is probably the most complicated use case I've used for bookmarklets so far, but as you can see, it can get pretty complicated. Okay, so those are all about bookmarklets, and so this next part I'm going to go into local Chrome extensions. So you can actually go to this repo and download Chrome extensions, and I've got 2 here that I'm going to demo, and I'll just periodically add more, and you can just sync up anytime. So we're going to do Element Selector and Site Blur, and I actually used Element Selector to make site blur, which at the top of the video was how we were able to get blurred out items like that. So let me go back to my sheet here. So to install a local Chrome extension, so first you want to download and have the folder. And then what you want to do is you'll want to go to manage extensions like this, or you can go to Chrome /extensions, and that'll bring you here. And normally when you first come here, it'll be like this. There'll be no developer mode on. So you want to toggle this on, and then you want to load unpacked. And so this is, once you download it, you'll have this folder, and it'll look something like this. And you'll just want to click select, and then that will load the extension right here as a block. Just the same way that when you install it from the Chrome store, it'll look basically identical. And then you can go in here, and typically if I need to use it right away, I'll pin it and allow in incognito, because I usually need all my extensions regardless if I'm in incognito or not. And so now I've got this element selector. And so what this does is you can go to any page, and I'm just going to reset this, and you can point it at an element, and it will basically get all the code information of the element. So if I go back to here, just to give you an example, what it copied was the URL, the page title, and then the element information that I pointed at, because often when I need to describe something to Claude, I need some of this information, like the CSS XPath and the DOM. And so it just comes with all this information. This is what was coded into this local extension. But of course, you'll want to modify it to, so, download the code and then give it to Claude, and then you can modify the extension however you want. And so to modify it, you just need to find the folder with the code. And we can come here to Claude. And so I've got my folder here, and you can just drag the folder into Claude and then just tell it to change whatever you want. And then it will, you want to explain that this is a custom Chrome extension. Claude will figure it out anyways as soon as it sees the code. And then you can tell it what you want to modify, and then you just want to come back here and then load unpack and just do it again. And then it will update your extension for you, and it'll have the new functionality that you need. All right, so the next part, so that was the element selector. Another thing you can do with it is you can get it to do mockups. So I think I have an example here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. So what I did was I went to a website, and I found an element that I liked. So for example, this element, I can click here to highlight, and it's copied all the code information. And then I just pasted it here, and I said recreate the mockup of the attached code. And then this is the mockup that it gave me. And so it was basically exact. It got the fonts and the spacing and everything correct because we gave it all the context. And then from here, you would want to iterate. So if you liked a section like this, then you could tell Claude to update the code and iterate as you need to. So this is a really easy way to get information from the code off of different pages if you like certain elements that people are doing. Of course, you want to remix it with your own flavor and your own fonts. So this is actually best mixed in when you have your own design system. But if you're starting from a blank page, sometimes it's easier to, get some inspiration. Okay, so yeah, so those are a couple ways you can use the element selector. And then another one was I actually used it to make another Chrome extension. So this was actually the exact prompt that I used to make the blur extension, which is this one right here. and I'll do a quick demo. So the prompt was, basically, is it possible to create a Chrome extension that will blur out specific text based on the URL the user's on? And then I just gave an example. And then you'll see this part here is basically what the element selector was. So I just pointed this at the element that I wanted to blur. And so I'll just do a quick demo here. Let's say I wanted to blur this footer part right here. So I would click my extension, and just a reminder, that is this one here. So if you download this and then come here to load it, you'll have site blur as a extension here. And then oh, actually this was the demo I was going to use. So let's say I wanted to blur this email. So then I would click this, I would pick element, and then I would just click that, and then it will blur that. And you'll see that when I refresh, it does show it for 1 second, but then after it will blur it out properly. So what I recommend right now, it's a bit of a bug with it because I just one-shotted this extension, but yeah, this is basically how I made the blur extension. And so it looks like I blurred a couple more elements than I wanted, so I think there's some iteration that needs to happen, but effectively it was able to blur out the parts that I wanted. So here's another website where I've got blur on. See here, I've blurred out the URL, and yeah, so that's how I made the blur extension. Okay, so that's pretty much what I wanted to show in this video. Every prompt from the video plus the repo is all going to be in the link in the description, and so you'll have access to the Element Selector, the site builder, and if you do build something, let me know in the comments, or if you want something different built, let me know, and I can try to do a video on the solution that you need. And so next up, I'm going to be basically rebooting my website, and because a lot of the earlier articles that I wrote I don't really like, and so I'm going to basically rewrite a bunch of articles and try to get them in a rank, and those I'll be able to show because it's my information. And so if that's the type of work that you like to see, then consider subscribing, and we'll see you later.